How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech. Now, with the new range of B450 motherboards, we are getting more affordable options for our Ryzen 2 CPUs. If you still want to keep all of the nice features of the X470 range, you can just go for the cheaper variants of the B450 and just get everything that you still want. Precision Boost Overdrive and then also XFR 2.0. But now for today, we have the B450 AORUS Pro. You do also get the Wi-Fi edition, but currently we have the non-Wi-Fi here. And the AORUS Pro is retailing for around 2,500 Rand on RebelTech, you're in South Africa, or $120 on Amazon, which does put it more in the higher end range of the B450 boards. But now, with all of that being said, let's jump into our review of the AORUS Pro right after this. Do you live in South Africa and want to get the best deals on all the latest gaming products? Well, RebelTech is the best place to check out. They have a huge variety of peripherals, PC components, laptops, and just everything else you would need. So go check out rebeltech.co.za to get the products you are looking for at a low price. Now, as for the design of the board, you pretty much get the same style across all of the AORUS boards, but this one does have the black PCIe and then that cool armor like a black, silver and orange style heat spreaders for your chipset and then also for your VRMs. Now, because it's still an AM4 socket, it will be supported for the first generation and then the second generation of Ryzen CPUs up till 2020, and it supports both the APUs and then also the desktop equivalents. Now, just jumping straight into how the B450 AORUS Pro performs when overclocking. For the VRM setups, it does actually have plenty of chokes. It comes at 11 chokes, which does look quite impressive. But for the VRM setup, it's not that crazy. You get a 4+3 phase of VRM, which is being controlled by an Intersil ISL 95712 PWM controller. As for the MOSFETs, for the 4-phase, you get a single high side MOSFET with 2 low side FETs. For the 3-phase, you get a single high and also a single low. Both of these uses an NTMFS 4C06N for the low side and an NTMFS 4C10N for the high side. Now, as for how the VRMs actually performed, I used a 2700X which I overclocked to 4.2 GHz at 1.425 volts, where the VRMs did reach a very high 120 degrees in IDA 64. Gaming was fine with that same overclocked. It hovered around 60 degrees depending on the game. But not everybody will use a 2700X, so I did use the 2700X at stock settings, where it did boost to 4 GHz at 1.3 volts, where the temperatures was hovering around 100 degrees in IDA 64. Now, also just to mention that these tests were run on an open test bench with no active cooling on the VRMs. So if you are planning to overclock it, then some extra cooling might be needed. But now, moving on to the memory, the AORUS Pro features 4 DIMM slots running in a dual channel memory that supports a max of 64 GB of DDR4 memory. Unfortunately, only up to 3200 MHz with an overclock. Now, as for the PCI Express ports, you get 3 PCI Express full-time slots, with the top one being a Gen 3 running at full 16 times speed and does feature AORUS steel armor for heavier GPUs. The mid one is a Gen 2 running only at 4 times speed, and then the bottom one is also Gen 2 running at 1 time speed. So these are good enough for Crossfire if you wanted to use multiple GPUs. And then finally, you also get a PCI Express 1-time slot at the top. Now, as for RGB, you do get plenty options on this board. Firstly, you get for your chipset, for your I/O cover, you could also behind the board, and then also a bunch of RGB headers. You get 1 RGB 12-volt header for the CPU, 2 digital headers, and then also an RGB W header. All of these can also be controlled through Gigabyte's Fusion software, where you can link all of your components together. For instance, I like the new Gigabyte AORUS RGB Memory, which I did make a review on, so you should definitely check that out because it's really cool. Now then, as for storage, you get plenty of options. You get 2 M.2 connections, both featuring thermal guards for better temps, with the top one running at 4 times speed and supporting the very long 22.110 SSDs, and then the bottom one running at 2 times, featuring up to 2080 size SSDs. You do also get 6 SATA 3 ports, and then you can RAID them with RAID 0, 1, and 10. And then finally, it does also support AMD Store MI if you wanted to merge your mechanical hard drive with your SSD to get a better performance. Now moving to the side for your I/O, you do get an integrated I/O cover, which I really do like. You'll also get an HDMI port, a DVI-D port, 4 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-C port, 1 USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type-A port, your Gigabit Ethernet port, an optical SPDIF out connector, and then also your 5 audio jacks, which is running on the RebelTech ALC 1220 VB codec. And then just for the power, you get your standard 24 pin for the motherboard, and then your 8 pin for the CPU. Some other connections you get your USB 3.1 Gen 1, and then also your USB 2.0 headers for your front I/O. You get 5 hybrid fan headers, a clear CMOS jumper, and then also it does feature a dual BIOS. Now then, just my final thoughts on the B450 AORUS Pro. It definitely is a good board with a bunch of features, and then of course certainly the looks. The VRM temps was a bit disappointing, but it was still good enough for most overclocking. If you want to go for lower end CPUs, because the 2700X is a high TDP CPU, so if anything lower like the 2700 or even the 2600X, that's gonna work perfectly and you don't have to worry. I would have liked to see how the B450 AORUS Pro compared to the X470 Gaming Ultra in VRM temps, because they are pretty much the same price at the moment, but nobody really has done a proper review on the VRM temps for the X470 Gaming Ultra. So I would like to hear from you guys. If you do own the X470 Gaming Ultra, if you could post your VRM temps in the description down below, it would really help out. And we can just see how these two compare against each other, because I'm kind of curious to see how the two would compare against each other, being that it is the X470 against the B450, because also the price range is kind of the same, and on paper it does look like the X470 is better, but I haven't really seen again a proper review out, so I can't recommend the X470 Gaming Ultra yet above this one. So again, if you guys have any information, please let me know down in the comments. But also just a big thanks to Gigabyte for sending over the B450 AORUS Pro for this review. And if you guys want to get the B450, just check out the links in the video description, where you can get it on RebelTech if you live in South Africa, or Amazon if you live overseas. So for all of that, thanks for watching, guys. If you did like this review, please like, share, subscribe, and comment like always. And then if you want me to review anything else, let me know down in the comments below. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.